When you think of psychology, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it lying down on a sofa, ready to be hypnotized? Ready to tell someone your relationship with your parents? It could be therapy, such as CBT or counselling. It could even be medication. Hi, I'm Amy, and today I wanted to tell you all about positive psychology and what it actually is. But before I get too deep into that, I just want to take a very brief amount of time to discuss mainstream psychology as it stands today. Now, unfortunately, psychology does have a lot of negative connotations to it. A lot of people, including myself as someone who is studying psychology, see psychology as a method, as a science of basically determining what is wrong with you. Everything is leading up to a diagnosis to basically tell you you are broken, that there is something that needs fixing. And this is where a lot of people started to raise an eyebrow or two, including in 1998 when a new president was elected into the American Psychological Association, otherwise known as the APA, which for those who don't know is basically the BPS's American equivalent, and the BPS is the British Psychological Society, so it's just the American counterpart of that basically. But yes, in 1998 a new president was elected and his name was Martin Seligman. Now, he also noticed that psychology was becoming a little bit too dark and a little bit too deep, and decided that actually what we needed to focus on was what was life worth living for? What made us special? What made us strong? What made us happy? He was then seen as the founder of this new field of psychology known as positive psychology. If you type positive psychology into Google right now, and yes, that is a task, pause this video, go look it up. But if you have done that, you may have seen there's actually a couple of different definitions. The first one is that positive psychology is being the science that studies and researches happiness and well-being, or basically what makes us happy. Why is life happy? I think that's a pretty nice way of looking at life. Rather than trying to fix what's broken about us, we're finding out what makes us happy and doing more of those things. There's also a second definition, which is about how people wanting to thrive and grow. My favourite definition, however, is the definition of positive psychology being the science into understanding what makes life worth living. And the reason why I like this definition is because I think it incorporates both sides. What makes life worth living? Well, we live life at its fullest when we're happy, so it covers that section. But also, in order to make the most out of life, we are thriving, I think. So it also incorporates that side too. So that's why I really like that one statement. It just encompasses everything. Despite its relatively new introduction into the official psychological realms, positive psychology actually has its roots way back. For example, some of the understandings and beliefs of positive psychology have been discussed by philosophers back in ancient Greece or ancient Rome. So some of the things that positive psychologists talk about aren't exactly new. We're just retelling you, if that makes sense, and saying, hey, yeah, it still does work all these years later. So yeah, a lot of our roots come from those philosophers and extension. Let me try and get that word right. Those who study what it means to exist, basically. However, it also has its roots based in humanistic psychology, which, if you do not know, we have some really important key figures in the psychological world, such as Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers, who was the person who, studied and created person-centered therapy. So yeah, we have a lot. I say we, as positive psychology users. Positive psychology has its roots really, really deep into basically in humanity. And I really do like that aspect, even though it is relatively new. In fact, funny enough, positive psychology is the same age as me. We were both born in 1998. How amazing. So, yeah, it's relatively new compared to other streams of psychology. It focuses on what makes us grow, what makes us develop, what we're strong at, our values, and how we can incorporate those to basically reach our full potential. Now, in humanistic approaches, this was called self-actualization. Now, this term isn't used as much in positive psychology. However, there very much is a tie. There is a connection between the humanistic self-actualization process and positive psychology itself, because basically both of them are trying to better oneself, trying to do things that make us a better person, and then spreading that happiness and positivity with the rest of the world. So yeah, there is definitely a crossover there. Now, looking at positive psychology compared to mainstream psychology, there are a few differences. Positive psychology is very proactive. It teaches people how to build on themselves, find their tools and their happiness and their methods to become more resilient in order to be better prepared for when adversity comes. Whereas mainstream psychology wants you to break first so it can then patch you up and fix you afterwards. And yes, that is very much a viewpoint on mainstream psychology these days. A lot of people do think that. Now, of course, you have got CBT in normal mainstream psychology, which helps give you tools to overcome things. But people don't go to CBT unless something has happened to them. It's not something they can work on by themselves before something, because you can't predict what life gives you. Whereas positive psychology can be used before anything happens, because it's just basically finding how you can use your own strengths and values to be the best person that you're, best version of yourself. So I really do like that. Another thing is that positive psychology is not toxic positivity. Now, this is a new term that I have been seeing cropping up on social media. And for those who don't know, toxic positivity is the state of mind where everything is amazing. Whatever happens to you, you have to be over the moon, overwhelmed. You can make anything better just by saying it will get better. And that is toxic positivity, because you're not accepting what has happened. For example, let's use... I don't want this video to get too deep, so I'm trying to think of a good example that's not going to hurt anyone. Okay, so let's take us all back to school and say that you didn't get 100%. Perhaps you got 70%. Perhaps you just passed and got 30%. If you were one of those people who got 30% and you were underwhelmed, you were upset by it, toxic positivity would say, no, you've got no reason to be upset. You passed, it's fine, absolutely, doesn't matter. Whereas positive psychology says it's okay to feel sad. Everyone feels sad. Everyone will have times where life throws something at you and you're going to feel upset, hurt, angry, anxious. Positive psychology does not in any way, shape or form say that negativity does not exist in the world. In fact, positive psychology understands there needs to be balance. There has to be good and bad in absolutely everything. Otherwise, the world just doesn't function if there isn't balance. So positive psychology is definitely not toxic positivity. What it does try to do, however, is teach people that even in the dark times, once you've accepted that bad point and you have allowed yourself to feel those emotions and work through that process, there will still be a little glimmer of hope, a little light or a lamp at the end of that tunnel waiting for you when you're ready to go find it. And that's what positive psychology is about. It's about finding that happiness, about improving your well-being and increasing your resilience so that you are able to better cope with those negativities when they do happen, because sadly they will. Life happens to all of us. It also completely 100% acknowledges that mainstream psychology still needs to exist. Again, a lot of people may think that positive psychology, being a newer field, will try and overrun everything, take control and become the new form of psychology, as it were. This is not the case. As I said, positive psychology does believe in balance, and therefore positive psychology does realise, because bad things happen, you do need to be helped to get through those bad points. And this is where mainstream psychology is very useful, because things like counselling, like normal counselling, is effective in that, because you do get to work through those issues and reflect and feel and experience and re-experience several times the issues that you have been through. What positive psychology doesn't want mainstream psychology to do is just to make you go through all of that and then just leave you without bigging yourself back up again. And that's pretty much where positive psychology steps in as a reactive method. Once you've finished experiencing all of that and going through it and working through it, positive psychology wants to bring you back. It wants you to boost your self-esteem, your confidence, realise who you are again and what makes you happy and strong. So that's pretty much where the balance is. It's not trying to replace mainstream psychology or interventions that already exist, such as CBT. It just wants to give further information and other ways where people can benefit from psychological interventions. The other thing that I want to talk about is positive psychology, in a very, very short amount of time, has already gained quite a large following. A lot of people are trying to find new ways that make them happy, and they are trying to incorporate, whether they know it or not, positive psychology methods into their everyday life. Now, of course, I'm going to be doing so many videos in the future as to what things you could be doing every day that is of a positive psychology nature, but to give you an overview, practicing gratitude. So many people keep gratitude journals, and I am here for it totally, purely because it is actually a major part of positive psychology. So it is something that I will be helping other people with and teaching about. But things like gratitude, things like keeping a positive journal, things like keeping track of your dreams, sometimes that does help people. Other things that people do, law of attraction, a term that so many of us use and don't really realise that it can actually be used in conjunction with positive psychology. Now, of course, there are some other models that you may not be as aware of, such as 3 pillars of well-being or happiness. You've also got your PERMA, which stands for positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment or achievement, depending on which word you want to use there. That isn't used in everyday language, but they are 5 areas that positive psychologists have researched that can help make basically a better, well-rounded person, that can help increase their happiness and sense of well-being, give them a sense of purpose in their life, and after that be able to share that happiness and sense of purpose and worth with the rest of the community, which hopefully the aim is to then make the world a happier and better place to live in, because we're all basically sharing that happiness and positivity with each other. And I really, really like that aspect, because I always knew that I wanted to do something. I wanted to help and change the world. Even if I could just help one person, I knew that that one person could then go and make someone else's day, and that will just carry on rippling and affecting more and more people. And before I know it, I have made a difference. And there you go, my purpose has been served. I have done what I've wanted to do all my life. So that is pretty much what positive psychology is there for. It is to help people understand what life is there for, what it's worth living for, what makes them happy, and then teaching that and spreading that with others so that the community benefits as well. This is obviously a very, very short, brief journey tour through positive psychology. There is so much to unpack, and there is no way I could do it in 1, 2 or even 3 videos. So there is still so much left to cover about what positive psychology is, but I just wanted to give you a super quick video and tutorial about what basically you can expect. You know, when I talk about positive psychology, this is what I mean. To sum it up, positive psychology is the scientific study of happiness, well-being, and what motivates people to thrive and to help them understand what life is worth living for. I hope that all makes sense, and if it did, please let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button, and if you are interested in more videos such as my next one, which will be all about PERMA and introducing that model, please do hit the subscribe button. But until next time, bye guys.